So stay tuned. Mike will be on in just a moment. Well, today's very, very special to us. We have Mike Davis from the Article 3 Project joining us via Skype. Mike has been on top of the Lawfare since day one, and I want him to connect some dots for us. A year ago, he was on the show telling us about Matthew Colangelo and Mark Pomerantz. Mike, we've come a long way, and it's the same game, different day. What's going on?
We are in week 3 of this unprecedented criminal trial of a former president who happens to be the leading presidential candidate. And remember how we got here. We have President Trump allegedly settling and booking a nuisance claim in his books back in 2017. And somehow this Manhattan DA, this Soros-funded Manhattan DA, Alvin Bragg, has brought 34 felony counts against President Trump based upon a convoluted legal theory that the booking of these this payment in 2017 was somehow election interference in 2016. And the prior Manhattan DA, Cy Vance, a Democrat, the prior Manhattan U.S. Attorney, the Federal Election Commission, and Alvin Bragg himself declined to bring these bogus felony charges against President Trump. It wasn't until Matthew Colangelo got deployed from the Biden Justice Department. He was in the number 3 office, a senior political appointee to President Biden, and they resurrected this zombie case against President Trump. Like I said, we're in week 3, and this is a dog of a case. Their star witnesses are clowns. Michael Cohen is on Instagram trying to make money off of this criminal case. You have Michael Cohen out there as a witness trashing the defendants, yet the Democrat Judge Juan Merchan in Manhattan, who donated to Biden in 2020, who donated to another anti-Trump cause, whose adult daughter, Lauren Merchan, is a leading Democrat fundraiser for Biden, Harris, many others who's raised tens of millions of dollars off of this criminal prosecution, unprecedented criminal prosecution over which her father's presiding. He should have recused. Even a former federal Clinton judge went on Caitlin Collins' show on CNN on April 5th, 2024, and said that Judge Merchan has to recuse under New York statute, and he's refused to do it. Instead, he's retaliated against President Trump by putting an illegal, unconstitutional gag order on him. So Michael Cohen can go trash a defendant going through a trial, but the defendant can't respond. And it's unconstitutional. It's illegal. This is part of the Democrats' illegal lawfare and election interference. It is a criminal conspiracy by Biden, his White House, his Justice Department, and these Democrat attorneys and operatives to violate the civil rights of Trump, his co-defendants, so many others, to interfere in the 2024 election. And there must be consequences, severe legal, political, and financial consequences starting on January 20th, 2025, when President Trump is back in office.
You know, it doesn't stop either, and it seems that there's a lot of the same people in play, the same people that were involved in Russiagate. Andrew Weissmann, how's he involved in all of this?
Well, Andrew Weissmann seems to be a part of this criminal conspiracy, or at least it appears that way. If you have government officials conspiring to violate the civil rights of Americans, that is a very serious federal crime under our federal civil rights statutes. And if you have private actors colluding with the government officials to do this, these private actors are part of this conspiracy, and that must be part of the criminal probe by the Trump 47 Justice Department to figure out if these lawfare operatives on the outside are part of this criminal conspiracy with the Biden White House, Biden himself, the Biden White House, like Jonathan Sue, the Biden Justice Department, like Matthew Colangelo, these Democrat politicians who are running this lawfare, whether it's the 4 criminal cases against Trump with Bragg in New York and Big Fannie Willis down in Georgia with her dumb, unqualified boyfriend, Nathan Wade, billing 16 hours of his time at $250 an hour to coordinate with the Biden White House, including the Biden White House counsel before Big Fannie brought her indictment. You have Jack Smith bringing two indictments where Jonathan Sue waived Trump's claim of executive privilege, which led to those two indictments. You have Matthew Colangelo going to Bragg's office. You have Tish James in New York bringing a civil fraud lawsuit against Trump for non-fraud. And then you have Judge Arthur Engeron just being a total Democrat partisan clown and ordering a nearly $500 million punitive fine, unconstitutionally punitive fine. You have these illegal gag orders. If there's anyone on the planet who must have the First, Sixth, and 14th Amendment rights to speak out against the judge, the prosecutor, their staffs, the witnesses, the process, their biases, it is a criminal defendant. You gag people in criminal cases in a very limited time, place, and manner restriction that is very narrow under the First Amendment. And the purpose of a gag order is to protect the criminal defendant, to make sure the criminal defendant's constitutional rights to a fair, public, and speedy trial are protected. It's not to gag the defendant, especially when you're allowing your star witnesses like convicted felon Michael Cohen to go make money trashing Trump during the trial.
Yeah, and with Stormy Daniels last time around, didn't she have to pay Trump's legal fees anyway? This whole case is just stupid.
Yeah, it's amazing to me. I think Donald Trump is so great that strippers pay him. I mean, it's just amazing.
Exactly.
And look, this is all clownish. This is all part of the Democrats' lawfare and election interference because these Biden Democrats fear American voters on November 5th, 2024. They know that President Trump is going to beat Biden like a drum. And so these Biden Democrats are running this lawfare and election interference. And again, this is a criminal conspiracy. This is absolutely a criminal conspiracy to violate Trump's rights and the rights of the co-defendants and so many others to interfere in the 2024 presidential election.
And let's get it straight. They've interfered in 3 elections now. We had 2016 with the plan laid out in Andy's office. Peter Strzok, Andy now have jobs at MSNBC. You've got Brennan and Clapper and the 51 intel agents that said Hunter's laptop was fake when we know for sure it's real. And now this. And I can tell you as an American citizen, I'm concerned about where this goes. They never seem to be held accountable. And at what point do we see accountability? Why isn't Congress subpoenaing these people like George Soros even? Arabella Financial. Why is all of that off the table? Why are we not on offense, Mike?
That's a very good question. And House Judiciary Chairman Jim Jordan should be issuing constant subpoenas. He runs the Weaponization Committee. He's issued a couple.
Where have they been?
Yeah, he's issued a couple subpoenas many, many months ago. I stopped criticizing him after that, but that's about all they've done. And it more needs to be done because these are Republic-ending tactics by these Democrats. Do you think that these Democrats are really going to stop if they take out Trump? Trump is simply in their way. They're going after not only Trump and his top aides like Steve Bannon and Peter Navarro, who's currently in jail.
I just wrote him a letter.
Yeah, and they're going after Trump's lawyers like Jeff Clark and so many others.
John Eastman.
John Eastman. They're going after his supporters on January 6th. They're going after parents outraged by gender chaos in schools and the resulting rapes in high school bathrooms. They're going after Christians, including old ladies praying outside of abortion clinics while they give amnesty to Biden, Hunter Biden, James Biden. It seems like every scumbag Biden was on the take. Over $20 million that the House Oversight Committee, James Comer and the House Oversight Committee has been able to document that have gone from foreign entities into the Biden's bank accounts, right? And they've given the Biden Justice Department has ignored that. The Biden Justice Department has ignored Biden's own espionage where he's got an $8 million advance and he's sharing highly classified material with his ghostwriter for that $8 million book advance where he's sharing his classified documents with his Chinese agent. Hunter almost certainly used those classified documents for his foreign corruption. They moved these documents several times. They were unguarded for years. They went back to his time as VP, even senator. There's no explanation for having Senate documents. The Biden Justice Department has also given amnesty to BLM and Antifa and their much more deadly and destructive riots, the abortion industry activists terrorizing Supreme Court justices and their families in their homes, the trans terrorist attacking Catholic churches, the Hamas terrorist attacking Jewish Americans all across America, including on college campuses. Look, we have a politicized and weaponized justice system, and House Republicans need to get off their asses and do more. We've seen this with Congresswoman Elise Stefanik, who's been filing judicial ethics complaints and other complaints. She's doing great work, but it seems like it's just been her and MTG who have been doing this. What about the others? I guess Andrew Clyde, Congressman Andrew Clyde's also championed Article 3 projects, appropriations riders, which are so important that it's this. This is unprecedented lawfare and election interference. We've never had a prosecution of a former president and the leading presidential candidate. And I would say this, if they waited 30 months to bring these bogus charges and time these 4 trials for the 2024 election season, Congress should have passed Andrew Clyde's appropriations, and they can still do this, that say this: no federal funds may be used for any prosecution of a major presidential candidate on or before November 5th, 2024, and any state or local prosecutor who uses federal funds for the prosecution of any major presidential candidate loses all federal funding, right? And the Article 3 Project website has an action center where people can light up both of their home state senators and their representative in the House and tell them to support Andrew Clyde's appropriations writers. You go to article3project.org, article number 3project.org, and there's a link that says take action, and it's the first action item. And that's where you sign you up, where you do patch through calls directly to those offices. We can pre-populate emails for you to send to those offices, and we can help you do social media to light them up and tell them to end this republic ending lawfare by cutting off the funding.
And it needs to happen. You know, part of me thinks that this is even bigger than that. It just seems the conspiracy's gone back now almost a decade against President Trump. And I thank you so much for the work that you're doing at Article 3 Project. And it's true what you say, Mike, the people need to get involved. But the frustration of watching these people continue and no pushback happening is very frustrating for the people. So I'm so appreciative of people like you and Julie Kelly with what she's doing with unredacted documents now from Judge Cannon. What is Congress doing about all these unredacted documents? Because the last I heard from her, she hasn't even received a call from Congress. Yeah,
it's very clear that I've been saying this for 21 months since the Mar-a-Lago raid. I went on Fox News right after the raid, and I said that President Biden orchestrated this illegal, unnecessary raid, unlawful raid on President Trump for presidential records President Trump is allowed to have under the Presidential Records Act. And it was Jonathan Sue who worked with the archives to orchestrate this raid. And the documents are very clear. I've been saying Jonathan Sue's name for 21 months. Why haven't House Republicans called him in? Why haven't they issued subpoenas for these records with the National Archives? Why have they not called in Gary Stern, the general counsel of the archives, or the archivist of the United States, and made them explain themselves, to get their documents, subpoena their documents, subpoena them for staff depositions, subpoena them for public hearings? What are we doing? We are allowing the weaponization of government before our very eyes.
And between this, the open borders, everything else that's going on, you know, and watching Hamas supporters on our campuses now, I'm extremely concerned for this country. There seems to be a movement of cultural Marxism that's taking over without pushback. How do we clean house at the DOJ?
What needs to happen is when President Trump is back in office, he's going to have an acting attorney general on day one, and then his attorney general is going to get nominated and confirmed. They need to go through and make all these top managers in the Justice Department, these career officials, reapply for their management jobs. And in the meantime, reassign them to the southern border, reassign them to immigration cases. And I would say that includes firing Chris Wray as the director of the FBI, firing or reassigning the deputy director of the FBI, all the assistant directors of the FBI, including the assistant directors of the key field offices like the Washington field office, the Baltimore field office, the Southern District of New York. You need to get rid of the career deputy assistant attorneys general in the Justice Department and all the section chiefs of the litigating divisions, including the National Security Division, the Criminal Division, the Civil Division, the Civil Rights Division, the Tax Division, the Environmental Division, all of them. Get rid of all these career managers need to go, and then you need to make at least the managers of these key U.S. attorneys' offices, like in D.C., the Southern District of New York, the Eastern District of Virginia, Baltimore. They all need to be reassigned. Get them out of their management jobs and make them be line prosecutors again. And then once you get your U.S. attorneys in place and the rest of the Justice Department in place, you've gotten rid of all these bad managers, then you just start cleaning house, right? And figuring out through the Office of Professional Responsibility, the Office of the Inspector General, congressional oversight, how and why these Obama-Biden operatives politicized and weaponized our justice system and our intel agencies against President Trump before the 2016 election. I'll tell you what happened. We know what happened. I've been saying this for a long time. The Hillary home server, when she was the Secretary of State with our nation's most classified secrets, got hacked, probably by the Russians and the Chinese. This server also contained evidence of the the Clinton Foundation's illegal foreign corruption schemes, the pay-for-play schemes. Hillary thought she destroyed this evidence when she bleach bit at the server and destroyed the phones with a hammer. But guess what? The Russians and the Chinese almost certainly hacked it, and they probably have a copy. And I think that Obama, Biden, Hillary, the FBI, the Justice Department, the intel communities, I think they were afraid that this server was going to come out before the 2016 election. And so what did they do? They made up the Russian collusion hoax, the Crossfire Hurricane investigation, including getting illegal FISA warrants to spy on President Trump's campaign and even spy on him as the president of the United States. So if this information did come out, if this hack server did come out, they can say this was a Russian disinformation campaign. This was a Trump campaign dirty trick with the Russians. And you say, that sounds crazy. How could you possibly say that? Well, guess what? That's exactly what they did in 2020 with Hunter Biden's laptop from hell, with the Biden's foreign bribes and corruption. The 51 former intel officials teamed up with the FBI and said this had all the hallmarks of a Russian disinformation campaign. They censored the New York Post. They deplatformed America's oldest newspaper. They took the link off the website.
I was banned for posting their article. Like, they took my business pages. And it was weird because it was the same social media platform, same time, same day, just completely banned me. And so they screwed up because then I ran for office and I'm here now and this is the passion. Yeah. So, yeah, but it's crazy to see what's been going on with all of this because it is the same players. Do you think decentralizing all of these agencies out of D.C. could make a difference?
I mean, that would help. What I think needs to happen is these agencies need to be dismantled. If they're not specifically mentioned in the Constitution, they should not exist. So just get rid of them. And look, the political branches are not going to do that. The executive, the political appointees for the president, any president, members of Congress, their staffs, they're not going to do that. The reptiles are not going to drain the swamp. This is going to have to happen through federal judges. When the federal judges over the next 20 years start dismantling the executive branch because it is not what our founders intended. It's not what our Constitution permits. And that's our goal at the Article 3 project over the next 20 years, is to get the right plumbers on the Supreme Court and the lower federal courts to drain the swamp.
Right. Now, I want to thank you so much for coming on. I know how busy you are, so it means the world to me. Let people know where they can find you, and let's not wait a year before having you on again.
I really appreciate it, Lori. It's article3project.org, article number 3project.org. You can take action there, including on the Clyde Rider, or you can donate there. And we appreciate your support. We're lean and mean, and we can certainly use support right now to keep going on offense. We're at Article 3 Project, at article number 3 Project on Getter, Twitter, Truth, and my personal is at MRDDMIA, MRDDMIA. And we're also, I think, on Facebook and Instagram and the others before they throw us off.
Well, thank you so much for coming on, Mike. I really appreciate you, and I'll see you on X.
Thank you, Lori.